Red Dead 2. Did not mean to stumble back into that like we did today. I mean, you realize we spent probably a good 4 or 5 hours on that?
And nice for you to come by. Glad to have you.
Yeah, glad to be back. And that's the show. So I'm trying this new
Did you keep...
COVID medication.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's in vape form.
Me too. It's my slippers. Very comfortable slippers.
Everything's a fucking... Speaking of COVID, everything's a fucking symptom of COVID. Literally. Now, I've literally gone down to, you know what? I get people with it all the time. They go, yeah, you know, acid reflux, upset stomach, heartburn, diarrhea. And they're like, yeah, those are all symptoms of COVID. I'm like, yeah, you know what takes care of that? Pepto-Bismol.
When I went to...
Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea. Oh my God, you have COVID. Drink Pepto. That's the cure. That's the cure.
Wouldn't that be something?
That's the cure. It's worked for 50 fucking years.
Or when I went, the first time I went out, when I went to the hospital, have it looked at in Cooperstown, they had a checklist. At that time, it was just two lines, but like bullet points of like symptoms of COVID.
Yeah.
One of them was back pain, and I look at it, I'm like, seriously?
I've had COVID like, since 2003 apparently.
Tell me my bulge disc isn't bulge disc, it's COVID. I have COVID disc.
You have a bulged COVID.
It's unbelievable.
No, but yeah.
Can't believe everything you see on social media.
Nope. Although there are some things you can believe. Because we've got a doozy.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. 69-year-old woman is in like the number one OnlyFans producer, like content creator. There is some crazy shit in the media. Now, I didn't research this. I heard it over the Free Beer and Hot Wings show.
Yeah.
So I fact checked it.
It's a good segue, by the way.
Yeah.
You actually intercepted my segue.
No, but for real, I heard it on the Free Beer and Hot Wings show about how this woman is in like the top 1% of earners on OnlyFans for content creating. 69-year-old woman.
Wait, what? Seriously?
Yes. This woman makes like 7 digits a year.
What?
69 years old.
What?
She invites fans over. Now, this is all according to the Free Beer and Hot Wings show. I did fact check it. She is like in the top 1% of OnlyFans creators, making the most money. Yes.
What'd she do? What? So is the question, what doesn't she do, or what does she do?
No. According to the
Have you seen that?
I haven't seen it, but from what I heard on the
This is the research we have to do.
On the Free Beer and Hot Wings show.
Are we going to draw straws?
Yes.
You're right. Rich lost.
Yeah, Rich. No, but like on the Free Beer and Hot Wings show, like there's a little interview that goes with it. They play a little part. She's done almost everything. Oh, but according to OnlyFans guidelines, you can't.
They have guidelines?
They have guidelines. No bodily fluids of a waste nature.
All right.
Yeah, but she's done it. She talks about it. The Free Beer and Hot Wings show played that way.
They just can't show it.
They can't show it happening or what it looks like after.
Okay.
So there's videos according.
Wait, so
she's made videos with 1 and 2.
So you can lead up everything.
I don't know.
I'm lost.
This is social media.
I'm lost.
And then to make matters worse, like, I mean, just go further into the rabbit hole. Demi Lovato.
I don't want to go on any hole with this.
Not with that lady.
No, with any of these ladies.
Speaking of weird ladies, though, or weird people.
I don't know where you're going with this.
Demi Lovato. She's pushing.
I'm sure she is.
Demi, I'm sorry. I don't know.
Debbie?
I'm not.
Wait.
I don't know. I don't want to offend.
They. But she.
They.
It's weird. It's like bad English. Like
it is.
They singular.
I'm just going to refer to they as Demi.
Yes.
Demi
referred to herself as
to themselves.
Every time I hear that, I just think of multiple personality, like a disorder.
So is literally pushing, and I forgot what the guy's name that reacted to it, but it was hilarious. He goes, I forgot what he said, but Demi goes, alien would be offensive to ETs. For real, Demi did say that.
When can we just get over this whole charade? We need an actual.
They need.
We need an actual real boots on the ground world war, so we have something actual to fear. Because this is what happens when we're so prosperous and bored. We just make up shit like this. It's like, E.T. You remember that Spielberg movie? Fuck that guy and fuck E.T. I'm offended for him, her, they, the little they with the stretchy neck.
Yeah.
I guess Demi Lovato says they are non-binary, but she does switch to male and female or whatever, or female. You can call her female.
Okay.
So she doesn't object to it. My response to that is, so what's the point?
Well, how does Demi know that they're non-binary?
And not even that. How does anybody else know what to call they, her?
I don't know.
Like, this is a guessing game.
You ever heard of a weeaboo?
No. What is that?
Yeah, I know.
What?
A weeaboo. Filthy Frank, motherfuckers. Filthy Frank has a YouTube channel.
Wait a minute. I did think
almost everyone's. He started the Harlem Shake.
Wait, like the actual dance? Oh, that. Okay.
He started that.
Oh, thanks. It only lasted for a couple months, so I guess whatever.
But it blew up.
Here's a quick question. There's nothing really to do with any social media.
That's fine.
Well, actually, it does have social media. What was bigger? Turned Down for What with Lil Wayne or the Harlem Shake?
John.
Lil John? Whatever.
Lil John.
Lil something. There's so many Lils. Or the Harlem Shake? Yeah.
It depends. I want to say the Harlem Shake.
Because one came...
Nothing but respect and love for Lil John, but Turned Down
Lil
for...
Wayne's the one that was playing guitar and like beep, 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 beep.
But Lil Wayne, and I got to give it to Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne has literally gone... You can look it up.
Isn't he just entrepreneur kind of stuff now?
Yeah, he's music production, entrepreneurship. Yeah. But he's a big advocate for all lives matter. He hasn't come right out to say all lives matter. He has come out and said...
Like Terry Crews?
I don't know.
Terry Crews, he said, this is way back last year, and he said, Black Lives Matter is fine. Now we're just getting kind of off topic here, but Black Lives Matter is fine as long as it doesn't become... how did he phrase it? Like Black lives are more important or whatever.
No, Lil Wayne did an interview to where he's like, I don't believe in racism. There is no racism. He actually tells a story, a very personal story in reference to himself being shot. And when they went in, like everybody's blown by him, but there's one police officer. And you don't find out he's a police officer until the end of the story when he says, yeah, and guess what? He was a white cop. Yo, you guys just ran past this kid who's shot, dying, carried him in his arms to the hospital, stayed with him, stayed by his side, did not leave till he was okay. He's like, so no, he does not believe there is racism in America.
Well, there is racism in America.
Because people are making racism in America.
Systemically racist. I don't think, anyway. Granted, like I said, those podcasts or those shows... I live in upstate,
So weeaboo is a term that is becoming...
Oh, my God.
It's coming back around. Apparently...
What is this?
Apparently, a weeaboo is...
Am I ready for this?
I don't know.
Probably not.
Probably not. A weeaboo is someone of any other culture other than Asian who sees the Asian culture, Japanese, Vietnamese, Korean, Chinese... I'm not very good with geography.
India.
No, most like...
They're considered Asian.
But like...
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
The Far East Asia.
The Far East Asia.
Right, okay.
Culture. And they take that culture so into themselves that they change their own dialect. They learn the second language to become their first language.
So it's like someone from Portugal adopts the Japanese culture.
Anybody.
As an example.
And literally makes it their own. Like they talk with an accent. They only speak the primary language, that being of whatever.
I bet you something like this is on TikTok.
Oh, there is. That's where I found it. It was
that's perfect.
Weeaboo looking for a weeaboo wife.
What is that? Of course, why not? What is there's a channel, a content creator on TikTok. He's severely disabled. You gotta know what I'm talking about.
I'm a race car. That guy?
Maybe he's got the glasses on.
Yes.
All right.
He's physically disabled.
Hilarious. And I looked up
funny.
A while ago. I looked up his affliction. I can't remember what it was. The one specifically I remember just lately is he had the one where he goes, "I'm gonna make myself walk with the magic of green screen," and he's wearing a green shirt and a green screen, and everything disappears, blacks out or chroma keys the background. So it's just his hands. And he moves them to under his head, and then he just gets his hands to walk. He goes, here we go. And he just walks off the screen.
No, I haven't seen.
So,
excuse me.
There's that.
I haven't seen that one yet, but there's the one that he's.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yes,
okay,
I do know what you're talking about. He's got one in particular that's gotten so much positive feedback. Because of it's got to be because of who he is and what's wrong with him, or what he's inflicted with. What his affliction. Sorry. It's this guy goes, "I'm gay," and then the woman, "I'm lesbian. I'm this. I'm that. I'm transgender." And you see him in the camera. He's like right there. He's like, you hear him fart. "I'm a race car." And then
I did see that.
The video cuts out.
I did see that one.
If you read the comments, it's gotten so much positive feedback. I'm like, this is what we need. This is what we need. This is going to be the guy that saves America from itself.
Oh my God! Hopefully, there's that. There's also, I've seen plenty of these on there. There is people that have Tourette's syndrome. Or just different tics and whatnot. And so that's not just one creator. That seems to be an influx of them.
Yeah.
There's also one that Amanda watches and sends me every now and again. This woman that has she sleepwalks, but talks in her sleepwalks. And it says weird, dresses up in like a bunny outfit and stuff. Weird stuff. She sends me those every now and again. The point I bring this stuff up is, we can't. Freak shows and circuses have gone by the wayside. It's old days. Can't do that anymore.
Cirque du Freak, yep.
Do you think that this new trend in TikTok and everything, with all these afflictions in one way or another, is our new freak show that everyone who in public couldn't look and stare and be like, "Wow, look at that," because that's shunned. But now we have TikTok where all these people can create content and they can get paid for their content. For everyone that can't look at them in public can sit at the privacy of their own home and go, "What the hell? Scroll. What the hell? Scroll. What
Can you show that scroll motion again?
Scroll. What the scroll?
Can you
scroll.
You can scroll faster than that, can't you?
Scroll. And then someone's watching this, clipping that, going, "What the hell? Scroll."
No,
TikTok, social media has become our new 3-ring circus.
There's a movie, Cirque du Freak, The Vampire's Assistant.
Right.
It's got John C. Reilly in it. Great movie. And sad but true.
Dr. Steve Rules in it.
It's got everything.
Bringo.
It's got a couple of good, important key factors of what's going on today in it. There's a part where the freak show is going on, and these people are performing on stage, and these normal townspeople come in, and they go to the ringmaster. You can't exploit these people. It's offensive. And the one guy goes, "Really? Would you have us over to your house?" And he opens up his shirt, and he's all freaked out. And they're like, "Oh, you're a freak." Right there. It said that like 10 years, 15 years ago, this movie came out. And you had people fighting, like, you can't treat people like this. You can't exploit them. It's offensive.
Right.
And then as soon as, welcome me into your home. Oh, no, you're a freak.
Funny you say that. I just saw today, this isn't really to do with that, but it was a guy wearing a Biden shirt. I don't know how long ago this was. It must have been either right before or right after. It had to have been right after the election. Or it was at least post-election. He's wearing a Biden shirt, and he's watering his lawn. And this guy walks up and says, he goes, oh, you're a Biden supporter. Do you think we should close the borders or something to that effect? He's like, no, it's like this country was founded on immigrants. We should allow all of them in, blah, blah, blah. He goes, well, I just so happen to have these 3 immigrants from next door here. It's like looking for somewhere to stay. It's like, so you allow them to stay in here? Also, like, no, you can't stay in my house. It's like, well, you're a fucking hypocrite then.
Yeah. And social media is the way to get it out there.
That doesn't really have anything to do with a freak show. Well, I guess America right now is kind of a freak show. The rest of the world, but you just said something about would you invite me to your house? Then they quickly switched tone. Like that just reminded me of that.
Well, there's more. What was I gonna say? Shit. Freak show. I forgot.
Are you singing?
I don't know. No, I don't know.
How many drugs have you had today?
I don't know.
Oh, he's rubbing the microphone.
Not enough. I don't smell, sound, or taste colors yet.
That's all right.
No, but yeah, it's just so much. There's a stuttering guy.
Tourette's guy. Remember him?
Bob Saget.
Yeah.
That guy. Yeah. I think that was an act.
Do you think it was an act?
Because I think a lot of what's going on...
Do you think it was an act, or do you think it was him and, like, just having Tourette's syndrome, but then realizing, hey, I'm getting a lot of traffic for doing this, so then he just kind of went above and beyond, and then became an act.
Oh, yeah.
Much like...
That could be very well what it was.
Much like... Oh, I can't remember his name. With the Juggalo kid. This is for all the Juggalos and Juggalettes. I hope you like it. Don't try this at home. Whoop whoop.
Yes.
Fuck this shit. And then he flips off a trampoline into like race cars and barbed wire or something like that.
I do remember that.
That's taken off. He was actually on an independent wrestling show. They had him on there. Like, just goes to show you, if you have an idea, just keep going with it. No matter who says anything, if you can make it work, go ahead and do it.
50 no's equals a yes.
That's right.
Oh my God. We won't get into movies, but I will say this. Daniel Craig is done with James Bond, and they fucking kill him.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Well,
I think I already knew that, though, before the movie came out. Somewhere that was dropped.
The title, No Time to Die, kind of...
How many James Bond movies has Die been in the title, though?
Live and Let Die.
Die Another Day.
Die Another Day. Tomorrow Never Dies. No Time to Die.
So there's 4 times.
There's enough. But yeah. Drew Lynch. He's a comedian, up and coming. Yeah.
They'll bring him back in 6 years.
He makes a joke because he's got a severe stutter, which only came about because of traumatic injury.
Yeah. All right, go ahead.
He suffered a blow to the throat, and now when he talks, he talks like this, and his voice starts out real. And then when he gets going, he can't stop talking like this. And it's funny because he's getting a lot of lashback. He's getting a lot of backlash, not lashback. Sorry, he's getting a lot of backlash.
You have a disability too,
apparently. He's getting a lot of backlash.
Well, good. Then we should get a lot of traffic.
There are people. Well, I mean, if it's not apparent now, I don't know if people can tell, I guess. But he's getting a lot of backlash on social media because some people are saying, like, oh, it's fake, it's not real. So now he's got this joke in his skit where he goes, you know, when people are telling me, like, did you know you had a stutter? He goes, no, I couldn't tell. Well, it's really bad. He goes, well, it's a good thing I'm black because then people understand. He's as white as snow. They go, you're not black. He goes, well, what else could be wrong with me then? he's getting the backlash because it's like black people, white people, Asians, Hispanics. They're all like, this shit's fucking funny but racist.
There's a I can't remember his name, but there's a comedian that has cerebral palsy.
Josh Blue.
Cerebral palsy. The long hair?
Yes.
He's hilarious.
I love that guy.
He's hilarious.
He was
he's good. He's got good timing. And
he came out. He made his debut. His real big break came from Last Comic Standing.
A couple of years ago, wasn't it?
No, a few longer than that.
That's probably where I saw him. This a couple of years
upwards
ago.
of 10 years ago at this point.
Oh, really?
He's been around for a while, but he only does stand-up. He won't do like movies.
He stopped watching TV.
He hasn't done too many specials, so that's why you haven't heard much of him.
Excuse me. Does clubs?
Yeah. But he made his big break on Last Comic Standing. Mm-hmm. And the judges were sitting there, so what got you into comedy? And he's sitting there and he's like, well, did you see me do anything else? Like maybe a traffic cop? And his arms were going crazy and shit. And they started laughing. I think he won that night. Like, he won just off that fucking joke, dude. Oh, but
yeah, he's good.
Yeah, he's
But there again, there's another example. Both of those right there, two more examples. Just we can sit at home and watch all these people with these severe afflictions, for some of them, and just gawk in a daze. Whereas if you did that
10 years ago,
and not even today, even if you did that
in
out
person,
in public,
yes,
in a restaurant, there'd be like people looking at you, staring at like whatever. What's a Tiny's their name with the
now
small
let me
head?
ask you this: is it more?
Why did you say it like that? Let me ask you this.
That's gonna be my new catchphrase. Let me ask you this.
You're gonna get a T-shirt made? Whatever. Go ahead.
With a finger.
Half your head just peeking around a brick wall.
On the one side, let me ask you this. On the other side, Charles Hanson coming around. Why don't you have a seat over here?
Ask the question, damn it. Nothing ever fucking gets.
Do you really think it's out of people being offended that somebody's staring, or because they're like, fuck, this guy's staring and getting away with it. I gotta make it a point out of him because I wasn't staring.
No, I think it's because of social justice warriors. Strictly. I think it's because people are like, well, you can't do that, so you should. Again, we talked about this with the whole racist thing. It's not racist until somebody makes it racist.
Yeah.
Like, if all these people are creating content, they clearly know their afflictions. They clearly know their disabilities or handy-capable or whatever you want to call it. And they're putting it out there for entertainment. Because if it wasn't
some are entertainment, some are like a few of the Tourette ones I've noticed. They're like they try to explain the day to day, living with the affliction. Like there are people that are very understanding. They try to get the message out there in a positive way, but then there are the content creators that are like, fuck shit, Bob Sag,
whatever it is, just weird whatever. They're putting it out there, and then the people who are not realizing, the people are just watching it just because strictly like, well, that's fucking hilarious because you don't see that every day. And then the people that realize what they're doing, like watching the comedian there, you're tuning into a comedy show and here comes this guy who has cerebral palsy, and you're watching it knowing that they know that you know that you're watching them because they're funny and their affliction. And now this third party comes in and be like, How do you laugh at this person, this boy, girl, man, Demi Lovato, they, whatever? How do you laugh at them? They don't laugh at they.
Well, I mean, that's just it though. Like, there's such a fine line, and it'll kind of lead us into our next topic.
Doom scrolling?
No, like soft speech.
Ugh.
Like, you can laugh at these people because of the joke they're making, but you can't laugh at their affliction. And the minute you speak of their affliction, now you're crossing that line. And that's where, like, the soft speech comes in. Like, you have to be very careful about what you say. Like Demi Lovato with the aliens being offensive to
handy-capable
to extraterrestrials.
Wait a minute. Demi Lovato just did a thing on extraterrestrials, didn't she? That's right.
Where I heard that
from.
I
saw this advertised. And what does how does she, unless unless the powers that be in Hollywood be like, you know what, you're kind of a fucking freak. Why don't you do the whole alien thing? Because usually it's Leonard Nimoy back in the 70s with In Search of, or Will Shatner in the 90s. He always did specials and stuff like that. In the 90s with space travel and extraterrestrial possible, whatever, interdimensional, this and that. And then Neil deGrasse Tyson maybe, or Michio Kaku, but that's actually physics and theoretical physics and physicist. It's talking in science and theory. But you see, like, all these people that have something to do with either that area of science or that area of entertainment.
There's some connection you can make, like you're saying, like Leonard Nimoy, Star Trek, William Shatner.
Does Demi Lovato they have anything to do with
hashtag Demi Lovato they?
With what does they have anything to do with anything?
Up until this interview or whatever it is she did, she's never.
Who asked her the questions? They.
I don't know. I don't know, but
and I want to know where they got the questions from. Did they Google the list, like a certain Rich Google's lists?
Well,
what
I don't
question?
know.
I'm gonna have to. Where is this thing?
You can find it on the internet.
Of course.
Just search up Demi Lovato.
Of course, it's probably on TikTok right after the Tourette's girls.
Well, all right. So, speaking of TikTok, it's Facebook, Google, Chrome, whatever, Twitter, Instagram, all these social media outlets. Let's dive into them a little bit. Soft speech,
all free.
How they're all free, and they're all listening.
Yeah. Snowden there. Was it Ed Snowden or Edward Snowden? He was a whistleblower for that.
Yep. Speaking of whistleblowing, thank you for reminding me really quick. Don't forget what you were going to say. They did a reaction. The guy, the defector, remember the one we talked about, the video?
Right, yeah.
He did a reaction to his interview.
Snowden did?
Yeah.
Really?
He did you can look it up on Google.
Interesting. He does that link.
He does a reaction video to his defector video.
Really?
And
I'd be interested to see that one. Especially someone who didn't really defect, but who left the United States and go to Russia to escape the United States government for him whistleblowing about the government spying on basically. Well, yeah, that was the initial him coming out and saying, the United States government is spying on its people. That was the whole thing that got that spiel started. And then he went to Russia, where this guy from Russia came over here to say, this is how they're going to spy on you.
Well,
wrap your head around that one.
It's funny because
we can't write this any better.
He makes points about current events.
Oh, I'd love to hear that.
It's crazy. And this is speaking of these smart devices listening, because here we are talking about this a few episodes ago, and a video popped up, a suggested for you. It was his reaction to the video, and I was like, I gotta watch it. They listened. I gotta watch, and it's definitely a good watch. I can tell you that. I'll send you the link.
I'm gonna have to check that out. That sounds really interesting.
It is.
Thanks for that. I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry. Demi Lovato, soft speech, things listening.
We were talking about soft speech, but social media, just your phone's listening and whatnot. But like I said, but social media being free, that's where I started to go down.
Oh, yeah.
Which all social media is free. So you wonder, where do they get their money? But I think this has been covered plenty of times. Where their money is, we are their currency. We are their product.
Oh, yeah.
Buying and selling information to different products. That's how we get, if you go to Amazon, search this, and then you go to Facebook and log in, immediately, and this happened to me yesterday, the day before, I was looking for, those mini wood stoves that you put in tents?
Yep.
I was looking at that, just a quick search on Amazon, and 5 minutes later, I looked in Facebook for something, and the first ad I saw, right there. And my Facebook account, because you can log in with Google or whatever, they are not linked. Two completely different accounts. And the email is not the same either.
So
the email is a separate email I made way back in 2010 specifically for Facebook. That's what I think.
So
I was so mad.
there is, if you go into your settings, there is a way. I looked up the video before, and here's the funny part. I've found similar videos to it that lead you in like different ways, but every time you find one that works, the video miraculously ends up being unfindable again. How to find a data tracker set in your settings. All of your apps. It lists all the apps and the time you spent on them. Recent.
You know, I saw that before. I didn't see like the tracker, but somewhere, not in this last like 2 or 3 phones, somewhere I did see that in my phone, and it actually had a breakdown of like the amount of time you spend like either daily or weekly in each app. Yeah, I have seen that. I think
even though none of my accounts are linked, because with the Google account, you could log into your Facebook, your Amazon, your eBay, your PayPal, your Venmo, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Mm-hmm. If you just click your Google account, it'll automatically log into it, which is all feeding into Google information.
Right.
None of mine are linked. I have, oh God, 10 or 12 emails set up so that I can have all of these separate. But when you go into that data tracker part in your settings, where it shows you how to root into it, you can clear it. It shows you how to clear it too. But you can see all the apps you used in the last 24 hours, and you can set you can go as far back as like up to 30 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they I would say if I had all my links or accounts linked in that manner, it wouldn't be that big of a mystery to me. Be like, yeah, okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially to one email, of course. But I don't. I don't think any of my main accounts are linked at all.
No, mine aren't.
Yeah.
None of mine are. My Twitch,
No.
all of them. The only thing I link with the Google account is any game I download, like Baseball 9. Shout out. It's a fun game.
It is fun.
It is a fun game.
It's a watered down, cartoony version of MLB The Show.
And I
love the show, but I just I can't. For sports games, they come out with a new sports game every year, and aside from minor tweaks and whatever roster changes from year to year, it's the same freaking game. The people I know people who buy the same MLB The Show 19, MLB The Show 20, MLB The Show 21. It's like, what's different? Well, they have a new emblem. You could customize the team with a new emblem.
So when do you think? Kind of off topic, but what?
Oh, we're way off topic now. We've completely.
Well, no, we've kind of touched base.
We're going on social media now.
We kind of just.
I don't remember what we started with, but anyway.
We talked about social media outlets and like the oddities,
right? Yeah.
And then we kind of segued into soft speech, and
we didn't even touch on soft speech at all.
A little bit. Demi Lovato.
I think like one or two.
Well, like UFOs.
Oh,
they're UAPs now.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Okay.
That's not softening the speech. What that's doing is trying to get away from the stigma of UFO, because every time someone thinks of UFO, they think of aliens. The government has come out and said that there are things that are flying. They don't know what they are, whether it's our technology, they're just hiding it yet, which there are a lot of people that think this is ours, or it's a quote-unquote alien technology that has yet to be seen. The government just came out and said, yes, there are objects. We don't know where they came from. We don't know what they are. There's all countries that deny it, not ours. But the fact that when an aircraft goes from 63,000 feet above sea level to 100 feet above sea level in less than a second, that's definitely that's defying gravity, defying.
Nobody wants to be caught
with no. Here's the thing, with no. What's the word I'm looking for? Propulsion, heat, any kind of heat signature.
Yeah.
Because everything we operate on now, no matter where the energy is coming from, solar, wind, whatever, it all generates heat in order, an explosion. To go from here to there, you need some kind of explosion in an engine or whatever to blast.
Well, not really. So I don't talk about physics too much, but I actually very knowledgeable It's one of the few things I actually I do pride myself in. It's having a very good knowledge base. Of
what are you going to tell me? I want to know.
You don't need a combustion cycle to cause momentum. Magnets, magnetic propulsion, for instance.
But all right, I understand that. I understand. In theory and physics, they have different kinds of energy and different kinds of like. You say magnets. That's like one initially brought to mind. The thing I'm bringing up is to make a craft the size of what I'm talking about move.
Yeah.
We don't have anything in our technology at this current state. At least of what is known. Well, we don't have anything to move from A to B, especially at the speed they're talking.
So, how do I put this in? I'm not trying to, please don't take offense to this. How do I put this in terms you'll understand? If you've got a fulcrum, okay, triangular point, and you put a bar across it, perfectly dead smack in the middle. If you put a 25-pound weight on one side, it's going to drop. How do you equal that out? You put another 25-pound weight on the other side. Now move that around. Doesn't matter how fast you move it. It's going to move at whatever speed you move it, no matter how big or small this is. You could do it here, or you could do a fulcrum the size of your house. Now the reason I bring this up is because when you talk about size, when you put that 25-pound weight, now let's adjust that beam. You can get the same effect with a 25-pound weight on one side of the balance as you can on 5 because of where you move the bar. You move it far to the side, put the 5-pound weight, because it's got all that distance, that 5-pounder will balance out the 25-pound. And guess what? Now you're moving a bigger object, a shorter distance, faster time.
Okay.
You even it out, it takes, let's just throw some random numbers here. Let's say you have a 10-foot bar on a 4-foot fulcrum, 25 pounds on each side. It takes you 5 seconds to do a half rotation. You can actually get a half rotation in a fraction of the time, 25 pounds, same 10-foot bar, 10-foot, 4-foot fulcrum. Move the bar over to where you have 2 feet, 25 pound, 8 feet, 5 pound. You can move that rotation. The half, the 25 pounder, you'll get a half rotation in a shorter distance.
Okay.
Same amount of time.
But is that
size wise? Oops, sorry. I'll put my finger in it. That's right.
Well, you just
sorry. But it's the concept. The concept I'm making. The point I'm trying to lead it into is you were talking about size to build a craft that big. We have found ways to superpower magnets from any size. Now, I use the magnetic propulsion as the easiest example to explain because when one magnet south to south, it pushes it away.
Right.
Now, if you have a small magnet this big and a magnet this big, but this is a super magnet, you can actually move that faster than you can 2 equal-sized magnets.
Right.
So now you have something that's much smaller moving something that's much bigger at a greater rate.
Right.
It's all...
Wouldn't that cause a tether system? Or aren't you describing a tether system, though? What you're saying is that...
You do need 2 equal opposing forces.
But where would the other force be?
That's just it. We don't know. I don't know. When it comes to stuff like UAPs, UFOs, whatever you want to call them, describing how you said moving from 100 feet above sea level to 63,000 feet above sea level, I don't know. There could be... I mean, this is just spitballing here. You know what a railgun is?
Yeah.
Now, can you describe the mechanics of a railgun?
No.
High-powered magnetic projectile.
I've never been that...
Sad but true, Metal Gear Solid 2.
Oh, I remember it from Perfect Dark.
I remember it best from Metal Gear Solid 2 because of Rex, the weapon that they create that's like 100 feet tall, and it has a super railgun that shoots as far as it needs to destroy an object. Mm-hmm. It's just a series of magnets that once it gets going, the next magnet's more stronger, and it propulses it so fast, it becomes a lethal projectile. Now, what's to say... I mean, dude, we pack... Look at computers. the click of a button, we have our results. Speed of light, almost, you could say. You hit search, you got websites. It's to the point now where our computers are operating at a speed that is almost immeasurable. Almost. I'm not saying immeasurable. They're almost immeasurable to the common person. What's to say we can't put that into engineering physics?
Mostly because an engine. Where are you getting the power from?
But now, once again, have you seen like the videos on TikTok? We'll use TikTok again, of people creating electricity without electricity. They wrap copper into like a tube. You remember the RC motors, the little RC motors? The little things, you have the little 2 wires coming off, has a little spinner on it.
Oh, yes.
So imagine an alternator. They literally got these things now where they can start the spin, and the magnets keep propulsing it, keep the thing spinning, which is turning the copper, which is generating particles, electron, whatever, electricity. And they screw in a light bulb, and it lights. And they literally created on this block no electricity outlet, no electricity whatsoever feeding into it. Now, that's creating, which we can measure electric. That is generating heat because the light is being lit.
Okay, so if two Joe Schmoes from nowhere, me and you, can discuss this and be, oh, there's a power supply, so maybe these things I can travel at over 63,000 feet in less than a second, there's a viable, possible scenario. How come big think tanks haven't come up with that just for regular cars so we can get away from fossil fuels?
The fuel business industry.
You just said right there the answer.
Boom.
Business.
Look at the medical field. You mean to tell me, and let's go with COVID here, classic fucking example. You mean to tell me what took us decades to create these vaccines from like the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, from these diseases that were killing kids, killing people. We've created these vaccines that took decades to make, to eradicate some of the worst things we've ever had to experience as a human race. But when COVID hits, a virus that has been around since a lot longer than the COVID-19 pandemic, the coronavirus has been around for a lot longer than that. You mean to tell me, in the decades it took us to create vaccines to annihilate shit that was killing people, we were able to create a vaccine for the common flu? I mean, the COVID in a year?
But
it's a business. The medical field, look at that. Cancer, Alzheimer's, dementia, ulcers, cardiac arrhythmias, dysrhythmia, people who have heart murmurs. You mean to tell we literally can grow organs
in pigs?
In pigs, we can clone. There is a cloning method out there that has been researched, has been proven to be effective. You mean to tell me we can't give someone a heart when they need it? No, people still got to sit on the transplant list and go through treatments and medication, which is millions of dollars.
Millions?
Billions, trillions.
Yeah, billions is about right.
$1 billion industry.
Billions and billions and billions.
That's why we can't get past it. We will never be away from it.
So do you think that these aircraft, these UAPs, are man-made, or are they interdimensional or extraterrestrial?
Both.
Wait, that's 3.
I think they're all of them. The reason I say...
At the same time?
What has Okay, there's nothing original anymore. Let's get that out there. There's nothing original.
Simpsons did it!
There's nothing original anymore.
Well...
So we'll use video games for an example. What happens when a company comes out with the next big gen console? Someone gets it, they reverse engineer it, and they find a way to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
Then they come out with a console. So what does their competitor do? They grab that console, reverse engineer it, find ways to make it better. I think whoever started it...
Beautiful capitalism.
Whoever started it, be it us, interdimensional beings, extraterrestrial beings, whoever they may be.
Was an alien a monkey?
Here
we are.
Someone came up with a mechanism of some way, shape, or form. Someone else said, how does it work? Figured out how it worked and made it better.
A lot of conspiracy theorists think that that's where a lot of our technology came from. The technology boom after the 50s and Area 51, and was it 1940, whatever it was, 7932? I can't remember.
1947, Roswell, New Mexico. I believe it was 1947. Let's check it out. I'll fact check it while you talk.
A lot of people think that that's where we got our technology boom from. After the 40s and 50s, and suddenly we started going just crazy with technology. There's a lot of people, conspiracy theorists specifically, that think the reason why we have the internet and all our microchips and tracking and weapons and all these powerful, super powerful weapons now is because of reverse engineering alien technology. Where it came from, I don't know. By the way, speaking of alien technology, this has nothing to do with softening the language, mind you, but you see that radio wave that has NASA's tracking?
Yes.
Or whoever is coming from wherever, some other galaxy. Yeah, there's like a radio signal. They don't know where it's from.
It's not a radio signal. It's a detectable electronic signature.
That's what the thing I read is a radio signal.
I read it as a detectable electronic signal. A lot of people are calling it radio waves because that's what basically that is the easiest way to describe it.
That's the wavelength of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is detectable on our spectrum.
Yeah.
July 7th, I was right on the year, 1947. Yeah. July 7th, 1947 was Roswell, New Mexico.
So, UAPs,
now, you've seen Prometheus.
Yeah.
You remember that cup he drank at the beginning of the movie?
No. When did that movie come out?
Oh, years ago.
It's about when I saw it. It was when it first came out. I think it was on Netflix or something like that.
The aliens to us.
What you saw? Oh my God, he's on drugs. You missed it.
You saw it. You're on the same drugs. The aliens per se in that one, or you find out later in the movie, there are creators.
The engineers.
The engineers. Correct. That's what they're called. The one guy stands at like the top of a waterfall and drinks this cup of this like polymorphic liquid and dissolves himself. Do you think
DMT?
Do you think like
how did he drink it? How am I seeing this?
Do you think that's what a lot of this shit could be? COVID-19?
DMT?
Genetic engineering.
I am not a doctor. I am not a scientist. I'm not even a talking head, obviously, for any news facet. I'm just a guy that has opinions.
We're the announcers for the Tiki-Godstudios.
In my humble opinion, is this engineered? Sure. Am I right? I don't know.
I think because it goes back to the reverse engineering.
Not even talking about reverse engineering. To me, a lot of you don't have to be a genius or a scientist or anything to just look at across the board, watch CNN, MSN, Fox News,
ABC,
InfoWars, ABC, BBC.
I don't watch BBC. It makes me feel very emasculated.
Love watching it.
It's just, I mean, it's so like
independent,
articulate, their language.
I know.
It's so grand. It's like this big.
I know. It makes you feel like this big. It's terrible. I love
so
watching
emasculating.
Independent news facets, even just liberals, conservative, whatever. Watch across the board, and you just pick apart different things and just look at everything and be like, there are a lot of things. When CNN is telling people not to, I think I told you this today. CNN, there's an article that's saying, doing your own research, being critical thinking, is further spreading misinformation. That doesn't make sense to me. Because that's the thing we were taught throughout school for years, decades, critical thinking. Do your own research. Don't just believe everything you hear. And now we're being told by...
Don't.
Yeah, don't do that because you're spreading misinformation. So if I go out and I just look at statistics through age groups, through whatever, because this is fucking COVID-19 again. This is shit you can't get away from. If you just look at everything and be like, I don't think this is as bad as it's made out to be.
But that plays right back into soft speech. You can't go on a social media outlet and say that anymore, because then you got MSN or CNN saying, don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, that's dead on. Here's something, too, that's just funny I saw today. There was a YouTuber that put out a meme, I think on Instagram, of a picture of an old guy with a burning car, I think, in the background, and it said, Biden will not be in office in 2024. He got fact-checked for it. Let that sink in. Simple question. How do you fact-check something that's apparently from the future? And a meme. That clock clicking
is perfect.
Yeah, exactly. You can't. It's a meme. It's comedy. You can't fact check something. It's like, Biden is not. It's a complete opinion. There's nothing. It's not saying Biden won't be in office tomorrow or today because of this or that. Those things you can fact check. That you can fact check. You can't fact check something like, Biden's not going to be in office in 2024.
So
I don't know.
They fact checked.
They fact checked something that is just basically impossible to fact check. You can't. This is 2021. You can't fact check that. Softening the language. Anyway.
Well, it's funny.
I guess that could actually be considered softening the language too, because there again, you can't say certain things. You can't. That's just a complete comedy thing to put out there, an opinion. Whatever, what have you, and like these independent fact checkers come down on it. Go figure. It's wonder.
Well, that's like, speaking of softening language, they're softening social media too, because
that was on social media. That was Instagram.
Every time you're seeing now, like, people are trying to push about how Trump has gone on record to say he will be running in 2024.
Right.
It gets snuffed right out. You see it, and then the next day you try to find it, and you find 10 other articles about it. And then the next day, those articles aren't the same. It's like every day they're trying to stop speculatory thinking, speculatory speech.
Right. They're trying to stop that snowball from rolling. Do you really think we need Trump in office again? Like that, I don't know.
To be honest, I don't. Do I think we need Trump in again?
I don't think we need Republicans in office.
I don't think
we need Democrats in office.
I think if we can get another, I hate to say it,
but we also don't need Bernie Sanders in office, even though he's independent. A lot of people are like, we need an independent. Bernie Sanders is independent, but he's socialist. Anyway.
I think we need another straightforward leader. Because, I mean, with everything going on right now, it's a classic example of misdirection. You know, we're being steered on how to look for things and fact check things and read things, and we just need another. I think we need another candidate or another elective.
Softening of language. They're coming down on artists now. Dave Chappelle is the most recent one.
He got hit hard.
Yeah, because
for his last stand up.
Because of that whole thing with what's her face,
The transgender comedian he talks about?
Yes. I can't remember their name.
Fuck.
Whatever it was, he brought up, committed suicide or something.
Yes.
Right. And then he brought up a joke about it and then said she would have loved that joke, appreciated because of the art of what they do. The whole comedians, since the beginning of comedian time, have been the people that come out and say things taboo. Right? We've talked about that before. And the comedians, the actual artists that know comedy, know that that's part of it. That's what you do.
Yeah.
There's no boundaries. There's no things. Look at the roasts they used to have on Comedy Central.
God.
How bad some of those. They just rip them apart. They talk about like old problems, existing problems with alcohol or drugs or whatever. There's no boundaries. You just tear them apart. That's what you do.
Classic example, the one with Steve-O, the Comedy Central roast of Mike Tyson or whatever. No, it wasn't of Mike Tyson. I forgot of who it was.
Actually, Tyson's an awesome guy. But anyway.
But the one comedian makes a comment to Steve-O and says, we have Steve-O in the audience. Well, they asked Dunn, but obviously his car or something, he didn't make it.
Right.
And it was right after... It was right after the car crash that took his life. And even the crowd was like, ooh, oh. And Steve-O was like... Even Steve-O was like... And he was laughing on stage. But, yeah, no, I've seen a lot... On social media, I've seen a lot of articles they're tearing into Dave Chappelle about that.
Yeah. They're like... The woke mob, I guess, is what they're called.
I don't know.
It's hard to pinpoint them because
it's sad that somebody that they were so supporting, because it's sad to see that somebody they were so supportive of, because Dave Chappelle was bringing to light a lot of issues, yes, in a comedic sense, but he was addressing a lot of the issues that were going on, racism being the main point of it all.
Yeah.
But he was very risque towards the transgender community, and then he went into that, and all of a sudden now it's like, well, you're being insensitive. Da, 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 da. Now they're attacking him.
It's every other special he comes out with. Because the first one, what was the first one?
Sticks and Stones. No,
I can't remember. It just seems like every other special he comes out with, they're either for him or they're against him.
Yeah,
but that's Chappelle.
Because he did 5 specials with Netflix. The first 4, they said people were going on to saying it was like he was very edgy, but it was great. It was very well presented, and every one was leading better, and the next one was always better than the last one, and his 5th one was going to be the best because everything leading up to it was just getting better and better and better, and then all of a sudden, boom, he does a skit, and he did it. If you actually look into it, he does. It's a legit story from his past, like, and the fact that he made that comment. She would have laughed. She would have found that funny. People tore it up.
It's sad when it's not even social media. It's just, what do you call it?
Society?
Without calling it a mob or anything. Anyone that's censoring or anything now, I don't want to call it government either.
Cancel culture.
It's a blanket statement.
The cancel clan.
That's even blanket. I don't know, but it's one thing.
The culture cancel clan.
Right.
It's the new KKK.
It's a CCC.
Culture cancel clan. Yeah, they do all start with C's.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah, you are.
Fuck you.
It's one thing when they censor people like me or you, and we just put something that's completely false, but just trying to push some narrative. It's like, Trump stole the election. It's like there's fucking election fraud every year in every election, everywhere, from micro to macro level. It doesn't matter.
I'm sure even with Washington, there was fucking election fraud.
There probably was. So just Trump stole the election or Biden stole the election. I mean, crap. Al Gore lost the election because of Bush. Wait, actually, that's in that document book right there.
Yep.
And Bush stole the election in 2000 in Florida. So just saying all these stole the election, whatever. So if one of us says something crazy like, Biden, he has sex with 10-year-old boys, and I put that out there online, I'll get fact checked. Fine, whatever. But when they start going after artists who's using satire, which is what they do in one way, shape, or form, social, political, whatever, when they start going after artists for saying things that they don't like and being like, well, we have to silence him for whatever and however you have to do it, putting pressure on whatever network he's going through, Netflix in this case, you got to get rid of him. When Joe Rogan was having Alex Jones on, when he went to Spotify, and people are putting pressure on Spotify to not put these episodes or whatever on because of this and that, that's a problem. Because Joe Rogan is not a news facet. Granted, he has a lot of informed people, scientists across the board, whatever you want. He's got him on there. But he's an artist. He's it's like Howard Stern or Rush Limbaugh or whoever. They're actually maybe Rush. Well, he's a radio personality or was.
Yeah, radio person, but still.
That's an artist. When this mob starts coming down on artists because they're doing what they love and however they express themselves, that is dangerously close, if not already, in totalitarianism and communism. If you don't speak what the state wants you to speak, then you are snuffed out. That's where we're at right now. We're knocking on a lot of doors that we shouldn't be knocking on, especially as the United States.
Yeah.
Not great.
Not great at all.
No.
Especially because, I mean, you just, like you just said, where does it stop at that point? When you're willing to go, like at this point, are they going to go after cut kids movies next? I mean, let's look at the How to Train Your Dragon. They show disability.
They've already done that.
But what I'm saying is, like in the first... Excuse me.
That's cool.
Must be allergic to bullshit.
That's like every one of our shows.
I know, right? They show the main character loses his foot. The rest of the movies, he's missing a foot. Is it gonna eventually go to that where you can't have disabled people in movies anymore because now you're propagating it's funny and entertaining to watch these people?
Or is it going to go the opposite and it's all going to be disabled and minority, quote unquote, people in every single movie and a majority, a primarily white culture?
But what I'm saying is, do you come out with is that a funny kids movie now? No, it's not a funny kids movie.
If adults get a hold of it, no, it's not.
Because they're going to tear it up and they're going to snuff it out. Right. Because it's propagating humor on another person's level.
And you know what
expense.
You know what the fuckery is? Is that
fuckery.
The kids that watch this have no fucking idea what we're talking about. What we're talking about right now, what's on the news, they have no idea. They just see something that's like, that's entertaining. The younger they get, it's probably just, wow, there's a lot of colors in this movie. This is fun. What's that? A dinosaur? Awesome. It's missing a foot? Whatever. It's roaring. That's the same reaction I have.
But that's just it. Like, they're going to snuff this. I don't think they're going to stop at the artist level. I think they're going to try to
go. If they don't, you realize the next portion is completely, anything that's said that they don't like is completely shut down.
And the problem is, going back to the soft speech, and what led us into this whole bit where we're at now, you're controlling the media. If you can control, the output of what is going out there, you are literally breeding. You are brainwashing. You are programming the next gen to think one way. And what happened the last time a culture, a society programmed a nation into thinking one way?
The Empire. Am I right?
No, you are 100% right.
So that's a dangerous avenue. It's a real dangerous avenue we're at right now. Softening the language.
Dude, it's...
But there again, there's a weird double standard. Softening the language, you can't say this, you can't say that. But rewinding what we started with, we can watch freak shows and everything on TikTok. Disabilities, mental abilities, whatever, it doesn't matter because they're making bank. As long as you throw them a little green, a little cash, or a little crypto, whatever the hell we're going to have in the next year, 2, 5, whatever. As long as you throw them something for their troubles,
Yeah.
we can watch, we can point, we can laugh without anybody seeing it. Because as soon as you walk out the door and go, look at this, they're like, how dare you laugh? And another, again, fuckery about that is, like I said, if you do it in public, people almost feel obligated to point out. It's like, well, you shouldn't laugh at them.
Really?
But then they go home and do the same thing.
It's... Hold on one second. Just
makes no
sense. But, you know, and this is... You know, it's funny, because softening speech. Let's go back to that really quick, because you remember Let's Go Brandon?
Game.
You remember Let's Go Brandon?
Remember? It's only like a week old.
Oh, I know. But in internet time, it's old now.
It is, but it's a song now. You see that one song from whoever, I don't know, but there's some rap artist. I've never heard the whole song. I just saw like a clip of it. They went to #1 on some chart on some internet chart or something like that. The song's called "Let's Go Brandon," and specifically brings up the whole thing. It's like, listen, you get the media calling out, they're saying "Let's Go Brandon," and when and in actuality, they're saying "fuck Joe Biden."
Yeah.
All right. I'm not gonna edit it or whatever. It's like that's what they were saying, and "Let's Go Brandon" stemmed from that. But as soon as that anchor or interviewer at that race said that, boy, the T-shirts the next day, there were T-shirts out on Amazon. There was Hodge Twins. They had their own T-shirt.
But
there's a rap song now a week later, it's #1.
Let me tell you this, though. Conspiracy theory combined with softening speech.
Right.
How do you get people to stop saying something? You make fun of it. You make something out of it. You make some light out of that. I was reading an article about a conspiracy theorist who was discussing about how that was part of the plan. Because now, do you hear a lot of people screaming, fuck Joe Biden? No. Everyone's laughing because, let's go, Brandon. We know what that means.
That is true.
Let's say it. Let's go, Brandon.
That's very true.
They figured out a way to control social media with it. They were able to soften the speech of fuck Joe Biden to let's go Brandon, and now it's a big joke. It's in our music. It's on our Facebooks, our Twitter accounts, our TikToks.
I don't know who came up with it. That's a really good point, though.
It's all funny. It's all funny because they are getting people to go along this gag that is no longer fuck Joe Biden, it's let's go Brandon. And to the person who is completely new to it, you go, let's go Brandon, right? They're like, yeah, I've been hearing that a lot. That's funny. What's that about?
The first time I said it, and he was like, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are like, oh yeah, that's funny. I've been hearing a lot about that. What's that all about?
And the people that just follow trends just because it's trendy. It's
exactly.
Like, let's go Brandon.
The person who's got 10 million 100,000 followers on Instagram. Yeah, that's right. Let's go Brandon, guys. Right? Let's go Brandon. This is so funny.
Wearing a Biden t-shirt. Biden 2020 or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, I suppose that definitely, yeah.
It's scary to think that a conspiracy theorist came up with this.
No, not really, because
No. It's funny to think that a conspiracy theorist came up with this, and days later, days after it happened, and people.
Is this an Alex Jones thing?
I don't know. I don't know.
But this definitely sounds like it could be an Alex Jones.
I don't remember who said it. I remember
right 85% of the time.
I remember reading the article, and I'm like, oh my god, that's funny.
It makes complete sense.
It does.
You think Biden's presidency is one giant joke, and we're all just laughing at it or they're making Biden look like a joke? They being Demi Lovato, no, it's like they being the administration behind him, to be able to do all the crazy stuff here while he's bumbling around and evidently in a studio across the street from the White House, putting on doing. Addressing the nation with like flowers and everything blooming in the background, and mind you, we're in October.
Yeah,
like
I saw that. The fake set.
Do you think like that is a talk? We're making Biden a talking point, or they, Lovato, are making Biden a talking point? So the administration do all these crazy things and be like, listen, all the heat's going to go on him anyway, wrestling term. So, fucking
Let me
whatever.
sum what you just set up. Let me sum up what you just said in one line. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
If Biden didn't exist.
Sleight of hand. You're paying attention to what's happening in this hand.
So is that a yes?
Yeah, I genuinely think that Biden is a figurehead. That's it. He's a poster child.
It definitely feels that way.
He is a poster child for the government.
Again, this is if you just watch it, and it doesn't matter what news you watch. If you just watch what's going on, watch things he's signing and like things he's making go through.
Think about this.
You're like, there's no way. There's no way. And 50% or 50-some% of Democrats still think the economy is doing well. So that just proves right there that no matter what's right or left, or Democrat and Republican, it's tribal mentality. It's like, I'm going to fly my flag. Oh, the economy's great. Are you sure? But the fact that like Biden is like this talking figurehead and pretty much making himself look bad. Making himself look bad. That's
speaking of softening speech. If you look it up, you can find it. But once again, it's one of those things that you search, you always find a different article because you can almost never find the same article twice. There's people putting articles out there with links about how a lot of these mandates for the vaccine aren't official.
No, they're not.
None of them are.
No, because the FDA and OSHA or PESH or whoever have not signed anything. There's nothing in line. All they're doing, again, is putting pressure on companies. Say, if you have more than 100 employees, there is nothing in actual.
A company can still say no.
A company, yes, can very much say no, but there's a whole bunch of them saying yes.
And a lot of them are getting green for it.
I was saying making Biden look bad, which there's one thing right there to make Biden look bad. The shipping container issue.
Oh my God. I got some first-hand experience with that shit.
And that's always great that you're here for this one. Just to at least touch on this and go wherever it goes. The whole reason this one came up, and I shot you this, is because one of Amanda's friend said that the reason why those shipping containers, specifically in the West Coast, in L.A.,
a lot of
Orange County, are being left off the coast and not allowed into the ports or whatever to
the process
dock and ship them out, is because they're specifically making Biden look bad. They're doing that just to make Biden look bad. Which I heard that and I'm like, no, what? And then I started to like, well, how about? And I started to rattle off just different facts, which I wrote them all down, like, because there is a multitude, and it's not conspiracy theory bullshit. There's a multitude of actual real world employment and employee and employer reasons why the shipping containers are just left out there. One is, like we've talked before, is lack of employees, but that's not even like the longshoremen. That's going further down the line. But
so
your firsthand experience.
So being in the industry as I am, I do drive a truck and trailer for a living.
Right.
So when you process anything offshore to international to within our country, you take a cargo unit from China full of Mattel toys, let's say. There is a lot of red tape just crossing our borders, like into Canada, which my company does deal. We do cross the line.
Right.
There is a lot of red tape to get through. And it's not, even before the pandemic, there was always a delay.
Customs you're talking about.
Customs,
right.
But it's not just that. Because even with, let's say you dot your I's and cross your T's and you have everything in order, much like the immigration process, we'll use that, I'll bring that up. There is a process, and it does take time. Now, is it a perfect system? No. Does a lot of stuff get lost in transit? A lot of paperwork? Yes. But crossing just the Canadian border, let's use that with my company, a lot of our stuff will get delayed because of a lot of our own policies. Like federal DOT regulates that everything has to match, paperwork-wise, shipping documentation. And I mean this literally because I've watched a container be held up coming into our country from Canada that was supposed to come to our terminal.
And this is this can be pre-COVID,
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
It got held up because the seal number that was listed on the documentation got in transit, the paper handing from paper to person got damaged. The number was legible, but the person processing it refused it because it wasn't clean and clear.
Right.
I'll use that terminology. It was borderline illegible.
Right.
So they literally had to send the container back. It had to be stripped, reloaded, all the paperwork refiled and resent. This ended up holding that one container over for 2 weeks delay. 2 weeks to get a simple container with simple documentation, only because the paperwork had some markings on it that made it borderline illegible. It held up for 2 weeks. Sad but true, much like our DMV, much like anything, our mailing system, everything is so held up right now. There is a lot of that stuff is waiting processing. A lot of that stuff has already been greenlighted to come in. Mm-hmm. But then you start rolling into the factors like lack of drivers, lack of employees to work the docks, work the rail yards, work the stuff. Then once, let's say you get that unit in, now you got to find a company going into like the COVID regulations. You got to find a company that is going along with the DOT regulations perfectly. And now they're going to charge $100 more than the next guy, which they can't do that. So now that, because this mom and pop company, let's say the mom and pop rail yard, they're the ones helping us out, let's say. They can't do that. The government steps in and says, hey, look, I've realized in the industry, it's as much them as it is us. Mm-hmm. It's not just the employment. It's not just the lack of drivers. It's not just, people trying to make Biden look bad, people trying to make other countries look bad. I've heard theories, and I believe it partially, about some of them being held up to boost our economy. Because we didn't get that shipment of Scott tissue toilet paper. The Price Chopper brand is now up $5 and people are paying for it because they need toilet paper. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I think it has a lot to do with all of it in that sense. Because when you see everything green light, what's the holdup now? Oh, well, we found a problem. What was the problem? Well, when we are sure of it, we'll let you know. And this is a company, my company that I work for, we don't deal with like international goods in that sense, like to that grand of a scale. All we're dealing with is what you ordered. You ordered a wood stove from Canada. Why are you being held up?
Right.
Red tape. It comes down to that. Like I said, I can't speak on a grand level as like in the country as a whole as to that being the only problem.
But what that does is give people kind of an idea of like, listen, on this isn't talking about the longshoremen like unions, shipments coming in.
Yeah.
But from the shipments coming in, these shipments have to go to trucks to transport them.
Yep.
So it's not just, which I wrote down, this isn't, to the person that said that this is people holding it up to make Biden look bad, one, I think we've gone over plenty of times, Biden does that himself. His administration does that themselves. He doesn't need ships waiting in a harbor for that. So that goes out the window. Another reason why I think that goes out the window is because, granted, it's very prevalent right now in the United States. This is a global thing. I don't think the people in Bangladesh give a shit of what Biden looks like in the United States.
And we're not the only country going through it, too. That's another thing people aren't paying attention to. We're not the only country going through
That's
it.
what I just said.
No, I thought you meant like people shipping to America.
No. This is going both ways. I did write like why the shipping, what's going on here. These ports operate under a union.
A lot of them.
Which in Oakland, LA, Long Beach, all these unions are very unions are a democratic thing.
Oh, yeah.
They're a very democratic thing. These unions, if you've ever worked in a union, and I used to know somebody who used to work in a union.
I've known plenty of people to work in unions.
GE specifically.
He's one of them.
If they do more than they're quote unquote supposed to do, they don't get reprimanded from the union itself per se, but everybody working within that system is like, what the hell are you doing? Like,
dude, that's not just a union thing, though.
You don't need to do that much.
There's one story, and I think you're probably thinking of the same story you're going along with that example from. The gentleman that I know, we both know, that worked at GE, when he first started,
yes,
he was putting out like X amount more than the next guy who had been there for years, and they literally stopped him and said, look, this is all you're supposed to do. This is all you need to do. Don't do more. I remember that story, him telling us that, and I was like, wow, mind blown. But
because blown away, you're in private industry, you're like...
That's not even just a union thing, dude.
Production equals, at least in every business I've ever been in, production equals pay.
Yeah.
So if you're in a union now where...
I've been approached in my company who doesn't even we're not union. I've been approached by another driver who drove the same route I did and took pride in being able to complete that route in the standard amount of time. I've driven that route and done it in less time. And you know what this guy says to me? He goes, what are you doing that for? You ain't got to do any more. Why? I'm like, because I wanted to get it done. Well, they're just going to ask you to do more.
You know, funny they say that reason right there at the warehouse when I was there, but they do time studies, everyone would be slow down. Because as soon as you do time studies and you start hauling ass, and they see, they can work this fast. So all those time studies drop your standard time of what you should be doing. Stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So
I worked in a warehouse for 18 and a half years.
So, no, it doesn't even have to do with unions. But specifically in unions, I know that is a big thing where you don't go in and meet a production. It's like you go in and pretty much meet your time. And like, listen, if we can get at least this amount through our whatever processing, you're fine.
Yeah.
As an average, the average dock worker in these longshoremen unions makes $171,000 a year, a dock worker, plus healthcare, free healthcare. Yeah, that's fun. Biden wants to. This is just. I'm assuming this is a 40-hour week. Biden wants to. I think for LA wants to add 60 working hours a week for these guys. Basically, have it run almost, if not 24/7.
Yeah. Which
I don't know how that's going to work. For a multitude of reasons. One, the workers there, because they're already working, I think, at 70% capacity of their workforce actually being there.
Yeah.
Two, when you bring these ships in to process, I think for LA specifically, for the week, it's like 80,000 containers they have go through the dock. And now you're going to bring in more people. That's fine. But now it's a trickle-down effect. You bring in 80,000 plus another, we'll say 100,000 for the 60 hours on top of the 40, whatever man hours worked. Well, now you have to have that amount more truck drivers there to ship.
And it's not even just truck drivers, train cars.
Anything. However you're shipping this
cargo
stuff,
planes.
You have to have that many more in man hours there to ship them. But now you run into the next problem down the line. Okay, let's say for fun we have that amount of, we're running 100% at the shipping docks. We're running 100% 24 hours or 24/7 at the shipping docks. Great. And now we have 24/7 100% truckers. Now we have to bring those containers to whatever warehouses or factories or wherever they're going. So now you have to have the factories run at 24/7 capacity if they're not already at 100% people, which coming from a warehouse where I worked before here, I can tell you this, we had 2 third-party companies in working because we couldn't keep the amount of people we needed to run a regular 20 or whatever it was, 10-hour shift in a day, 4 days a week, 40-hour day, whatever. Whatever I just said.
We have lease drivers coming in.
Yeah, we could. So there's scabs and drivers and warehouses. I want to say Target had scabs there too. They also had. I don't know if it was.
They have a Workforce Solutions, I think is what the company's called. They have people
Global
come in
or whatever.
They have people come in. So the average Target employee goes in start anywhere from $18 to $20 an hour.
Right.
They have these guys coming in through a third party.
It's like 16 or something. Isn't it?
15, $16 an hour to start.
That's the same.
And they do the
there.
same job for the same amount of hours for the same amount of days.
Right. And they save through insurance and everything else.
Yes, because the third party company has to provide insurance for their guys.
Which, here you go. What I know the next argument would be like, well, you have your third party companies. There you go. There's your workforce. Here's a problem. With where I came from anyway, even with 2 third-party companies, first they brought in one. One couldn't cut it because they couldn't keep the workers for the third-party company. Because once they're there, they're working, be like, fuck, we're doing the same amount of work as you guys are doing. We're getting paid $5 an hour or less.
Yep.
So they're not going to stay. They couldn't keep us who worked for that company specifically because they would treat the employees like shit. There was no communication. The managers and everything stayed as a general rule. There were some decent ones, much like any job. But as a general rule, they would stay inside their offices. No communication out. Unless there was a policy change. Then they would weasel their way out there, say, well, this is what you got to do. And no matter whether you're bitching about it or not, that's from the top down. Blame the other guy. Go back in their office. You wouldn't see him again until the next day.
Yep.
That's the way it worked. So, because the third-party company didn't work and the original hires didn't work, now we got to bring in a second third-party company. So now we have 2 third-party companies there and the original workers, and still couldn't keep up with the numbers hardly, because the second third-party company, same thing. You're getting paid how much? Oh, I'm only making $19 an hour, and topped out, we're getting 26, whatever it was, 70, I think, by the time I left. So you have all these problems. So this is like a fantasy world. So now you don't have 100% workforce at the docks or at the ports. So now you got to bring in all these shipping containers. You don't have 100% workforce in trucking, which I've seen. There was a video online of someone walking through, and there was tons of trucks parked at a dock and no cranes working at one of these ports. And they're like, well, look, they're just keeping them here purposely. But again, going back, this falls in line with, you can't run these workers, union or not, on a 100-hour or 120-hour work week. There's going to be days where they're down. And if they're working at a less capacity, I've heard 70%, I've heard 65%, 60%. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm not there. What I do know is that they're working at less capacity than they should be or normally would be or whatever. And I don't know what the numbers for truckers are down. I know it's significant enough.
The transportation industry alone, I mean, just not even just referencing truckers, like I said before, trains, planes, trucks, everybody's down. The transportation industry is down.
Especially now, there was just reported in August, 4.3 million people walked from their jobs. Whether it was walk, quit, got fired, retired, whatever. 4.3 million people. Some of those were in transportation or shipping or whatever. Specifically, the reasoning surrounds around the whole mandate thing. Yeah. But again, we said that's not a real law, but private companies can say, you need to do this because they're privately owned. So that whole thing creates a bottleneck after bottleneck after bottleneck. It just goes right from, really, you could go in either direction. You either have a slow processing time at the ports, so that bottlenecks everyone else so they can't go anywhere, or you just flood everything in, and either the trucks or the warehouses are going to bottleneck because they can't handle the product. Yeah. So then they can't ship it out fast enough. Talking about shipping it out, a lot of these ships won't ship anything until they're full. So you talk about things coming in, fine, we have all these crates all these containers coming in, unloading. Well, now we have a bunch of empty crates, and they have to go back to wherever, Shanghai or England or wherever the hell they're going. They're not, much like truckers I know do this, it's a waste of manpower, resources, fuel, whatever, to just ship incomplete order from A to B.
Prime example, speaking from my perspective, I will not leave my terminal with less than a full truck. Because if I leave my terminal with less than a full truck, I know I'm not getting a full day's pay.
Right.
If I leave with a half full truck, I know I'm only working 6, 7, maybe 8 hours that day. If I leave with a full truck, I know I'm working 10, 11, 12 hours that day, and I'm going to like my paycheck better.
Right.
Yeah, it sucks. In total, I lose 14 hours out of my day because I drive an hour to work. Let's say I worked a 12-hour day. Then I have an hour drive home. I've only got 10 hours, so I have to go back and do it again. Mm-hmm. So in a day, yeah, I understand. That's on a very small scale degree. Now, like you're saying, with the transportation industry alone, it is not. A lot of companies will not let you touch them until they have a full load.
Right.
Planes, trains, trucks, doesn't matter. Until it's full. Or if you're in the business of transporting empty containers, cargo ships, for example, when they ship them back, they have companies that ship just empty. They will not ship a barge, boat, cargo ship, whatever it is, until they have a full load.
Right.
Which if we're not emptying them, they can't carry them back. Because they don't have, let's say they can carry 2,000 cargo units, empty cargo containers on a ship. We're up to 1,500. Well, they're going to sit there in port until they get the other 500. They don't care how long it takes.
And then also with waiting for a full shipment to leave of specifically empty containers. Now you're waiting for a ship to get full of empty containers, which are already bottlenecked at the top, like for processing to leave or come back, bring these containers back from wherever they're being shipped to.
Yeah.
For one reason or another. So now you have the problem of these empty barges or ships with these containers that aren't being brought back to where the product comes from. So now you have another bottleneck area where there's product that isn't being loaded to be shipped back to us or wherever they're going in the in the world.
In the world, yeah.
So now you have another place where it's being backed up. So this is just a 1, 2, 3 constant.
It's a vicious circle.
Yeah, it's a vicious circle, and the numbers here, we're talking about China imports specifically. So why are they sitting in the port? Well, the imports from China have increased by 54% this year, while export is only up by 4.4%. So you have 54% increase in things coming in.
We have more coming in than we do going out.
And we have the shit that's going out, which is crude oil, which what did I put? Where is that? I don't even know. Where have I put it? Yeah. Top exports. The United States top exports, food, beverage, and feed is $133 billion a year, roughly, that we pump out. Reason why stuff not leaving in time is, one, we have the chicken shortage is one example we had where chicken wings went up to like $10 for a dozen, or where the hell, some crate $20, whatever it was. But that's one. The FDA is also coming down on different meat processing plants. So if your employees are not fully vaccinated, then they're threatening again to shut down or put pressure on the company to shut down the factory or the processing plant for beef specifically. Yeah, that's mandates. Crude oil is the second one. That's $109 billion, being petroleum products, kerosene, diesel, gas, heating oil, things of that. That's another big export. That's our second big export for the United States. So if we have only a 4.4% increase in things leaving, there again is another bottleneck. We got a shit ton of stuff coming in and not a lot of stuff going out.
It almost becomes a hoarding effect. We're bringing too much in versus what we got putting out.
I don't even know if it's hoarding. It's just a lot of things are processed in the United States. One reason or another, though, it's just not a lot exporting. that I don't think is an administration thing. I think that's just a business thing. As soon
I
as
think that's a world economics thing.
As soon as our economy realized, hey, we can make more money if we get other people to build our shit, and we save money here. Every company does it, or any big company does it. They get other companies or other slave labor, and some of them child labor, Christ, to make their product and then ship it over here, because even sending supplies over there and then shipping it back is cheaper than paying a workforce here. If you wrap your head around that one.
Well, let's look at the military really quick. Look at the military. I've known many people to be in the military talk about when they're coming back, they will literally dump, and I mean dump, as in like push them overboard, toss them into a pit, whatever. A lot of our military supplies, because we haven't used them all up. I'm talking.
They talked about that
weapons,
in, training. And
I'm
stuff.
talking gear. I'm talking supplies, medical, food.
Yeah, Julius talked about it.
Yes,
they bury ammo and stuff like that.
Yep, they just decommission them.
Yeah.
You got guys pulling and just tossing into a pile and burying. I knew a gentleman who was coming across on a ship. He was in the Navy. He's like, they literally got units where as soon as they got far enough off coast, dump them into the ocean. Mm-hmm. Just a bunch of stuff.
International waters.
Yeah. And I'm not talking like guns and stuff like that. No, stuff that like obviously like a lot of it was like soldiers' gear. Mm-hmm. A lot of uniforms.
Just crates and crates or
just
whatnot.
A bunch of stuff. Gear, clothing, protective equipment, stuff that can break down, whatever. And he's like, he literally said, I can get in trouble just for telling you that. And I'm like, holy shit, dude, that's insane. But it was cheaper to get rid of it than it was to bring it back and fix it and redistribute it.
Man, I would just bring it back and put it on eBay.
Everything on eBay.
I just put that. You imagine the stuff you could get on eBay?
Yeah, I know, right?
That's lost money. But yeah, so that's in a nutshell. I wanted to run through some of those numbers, because as soon as I heard the whole, well, they're just trying to make Biden look bad, because I'm like, man, that's a blue flag you're flying mighty high right now, because that's something like a Democrat would say. And this isn't a conspiracy theory thing. This is just, if you just run the numbers, it doesn't fucking make sense. And then Biden wants to run a 24-hour shift when they're already short manpower at the ports anyway. And the reason I brought up L.A. and Orange County and San Francisco, I think, is out of the top 500, like as far as speed-wise processing, like I think L.A. ranks. Oakland ranked 332. This is globally. And L.A. Long Beach rank 328 and 333 respectively. So they're not that fast. I think we don't have a single port in the United States that break the top 50. The closest one we have is Philly at number 83. So props to Philly. Not your sports teams though, and your fans. You guys are fucking insane. You don't have a dad joke for me? Fuck you.